Hello and welcome to Surveyor Says, the podcast from the National Society of Professional Surveyors. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests that are involved in the profession of surveying. My name is Tim Birch, and I'm the Executive Director for the National Society of Professional Surveyors and your host for the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast on most of your favorite streaming platforms, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. For more information about the podcast and NSPS, please visit our website, nsps.us.com. So, without further delay, here's our next episode of Surveyor Says, the NSPS podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of Surveyor Says. I'm your host, Tim Birch, and yes, unfortunately this time I am in the office, having gotten back from, well, it seems like I've been on the road forever, and it'll probably be back on the road here shortly, so, stay tuned for those episodes as well. But today, we're kicking off our 2026 election candidates interviews, and I have the pleasure today of talking to a gentleman I've gotten to know over a few years. We've got a few oddball stories to share over a beverage somewhere over what's Mr. Doyle call it, the malt shop. That back in my days as the secretary and calling out Danny's name wrong, and it doesn't seem like it could be done wrong. I mean, it's Dan Martinez, right? There's a long story behind it that it is. I did pronounce it wrong because of a client many years ago, and I'm glad we're past that, I'll be honest. Anyway, Dan Martinez, longtime director from Nebraska, the great state of Nebraska. How are you today? Thanks for taking the time to join me.
Thank you for having me, Tim. And I'm doing well today. Doing
Good.
well.
Good.
And just know that you're not the only one that did that. My elementary school teachers in small town Nebraska referred to me as Mr. or Danny Martinez a number of times. So.
Yes. Like I said, unfortunately, it was a hard-headed client that she every time I would say Martinez, she would correct me. It didn't matter what room we were in, who we were around. Anyway, so I'm glad you broke me of that. Anyway, so like I said, longtime Nebraska director. Tell us a little bit about your background. I mean, how did you get into surveying, and just really your path to where you are now, especially with your current role at this firm?
Sure. I went to school back. It was this would have been 85 through 87, 2-year degree. Initially, I thought I was going to pursue something more in the fish and wildlife arena. Loved and still love being outdoors. While I was attending school, some other forces, and maybe I just found my way to a civil surveying degree, 2-year degree, and then quickly found a job back home. I went to school in South Dakota, ended up back in the Fremont area, eastern side of Nebraska, going to work for a firm by the name of Johnson, Erickson, O'Brien. Excuse me. That firm, I happened to join them in the late 80s, 87, but they were seeing a growth, like a lot of firms probably did around that time as we were coming out of some of the farm, I don't know if it was a recession, but the farm crisis. And I had opportunities, had a great mentor, had an office that was growing, small town Wahoo, Nebraska, but growing, and now they're known as JEO Consulting Group, and they are quite large. But I stayed there for 14 years. Quickly, somewhere around 1991, I was managing the survey department. By 93, I was licensed. By the end of 2000, I thought I would try this thing going out, starting my own thing. Did that for nearly 22 years, and then going on 4 years, coming up here at the end of February of 26. It'll be 4 years I've been at Lamprey Nearson, an Omaha engineering surveying firm. They're an Omaha firm. I've known the individuals here in the survey department for years through through mostly our state society and just working together around each other. And so it was a little bit of a, how am I going to do this type thing after being 22 years doing my own? And it's been a transition. It's been a welcome transition, and it's great to be working with, we have a times 8 survey crews, it's some 7 to 8 crews. So now we're mentoring, We've established we put the CST program in place here in the office, um, and it's a great place to be. So I'm very thankful.
Well, very good. Well, and I want to go back in that section of your conversation. You talked about knowing them through the association. So I guess that was going to be part of my next question: is how busy and involved were you at the state level, chapter level, whatever,
Sure.
and how much did that get you into this role as NSPS director?
Yeah, it played a key role. I again started working for JEO back in '87, and just by some circumstance where one of our satellite office surveyors, LSs there, was not able to attend it's called Professional Surveyors Association of Nebraska, PSAN conference, winter conference. I was offered that spot. And I remember coming in from the field that day. And so some reason they asked me. I was fortunate enough. I had a wonderful mentor, but this mentor who's recently retired did not want to be in the office, wanted to be in the field. And when it came to these types of things, had no interest at the time. Um, so I was able to go to that conference. Shortly after that, probably somewhere around 90, if not somewhere in that area, I was asked to chair the association committee, which should be those that are not licensed yet. And so my involvement started then. It went from that to some point in time. I don't remember the exact year, serving on the board of directors. And then around 2001, I believe it was, I was elected president, president-elect president. It's a 3-year term. 1 year as president-elect, 2 years as president. And then serving on the board once again. And then somewhere prior to 2012, so it might have been around 2011, I was asked if I would be the next NSPS governor at the time, Nebraska governor
Yep.
to NSPS.
Yep,
And
Governor.
I quickly agreed to that. 2012, that's when that began. And even during my 10 years since then as the Nebraska director, I have served as president of our association again, kind of was doing a dual role there. I think that was around 2016. So I've been quite involved, and yeah, the NS or PSAN and my experience there and being actively involved, having an employer that supported it and have another one today that does endlessly as far as supporting our societies and other outreach has played a key role in me being able to be on the NSPS, the board of directors.
Well, I guess that kind of leads into my next question. I mean, obviously, with your involvement, there has to be some passion there of wanting to, going beyond just your job as a career, and having that in that, well, a lot of volunteer hours on chapter levels, state levels, and now even NSPS national levels. What does being a member of these associations of a member organization like this, what does that signify to you? What is it? What should that really represent to one and their career?
Right. I feel it's a responsibility, and we all know that. And then this isn't to speak negatively of others in our profession. It's that I think this happens across the board with about any group.
Exactly.
We see at our state level, small state of Nebraska population wise, um, we have the same 10% of individuals that are actively involved. It sometimes then is a challenge. Like right now, I know our team lead he's the person in charge of the nominations at our state level, and he's working on that now. And thankfully, we've seen some new faces, young people, and they're willing to put their name on the ballot. But what I think it represents is it's a responsibility to our profession, and it's also it's at that level's how we establish relationships, and we're finding it more crucial today than ever. I think it's been important, but you are actively involved with this, with establishing relationships with like professionals, in this case, mapping geospatial professions all the way through, groups like us to government agencies like NGS. Um, that plays a key role in it. And then our activity in elevating the public's knowledge of who we are, what we do, and that takes place importantly for us at the government affairs side of it, whether it's at the state legislature level or if it's in DC. And that's one thing that I found very important and have learned a lot about. And that's why NSPS, when I've asked, it's like, you know what, that spring meeting, it evolved quickly once I was able to take up the representation of the Nebraska surveyors. But that is a key part of it. That's an important role we play. Plus, there's many others. But I feel like if you're going, and then at the NSPS level, we see the same thing. It's not the same faces, but it tends to be, again, we see that, small percentage of the national level of surveyors from each state. And once you get to the NSPS level compared to the NFL, you see those individuals that are going back home and doing the work there or have been doing the work to keep their societies functioning and carrying out these goals.
Well, exactly. Well, good. I think that's a good explanation from somebody that's been in the trenches and has went through all of it, really all of it. And said serving a couple terms as president is very admirable. And I know we've got some states that, like you said, it's getting harder and harder to get those people to volunteer because it is a commitment. And thank goodness we're seeing several states that, like you just said, some newer faces, some younger faces are stepping up, which is really great. I think that's something that it's the shot in the arm that the overall profession needs. So that's good to hear it's happening in Nebraska as well. I guess, and with your involvement at the state level, at the NSPS level, and really, like you just explained about what we do as far as the spring meeting and day on the Hill and things. I guess from your perspective, is NSPS on the right track as far as being that true national advocate for every surveyor? And not just the members, just every surveyor, and really what we need to do to help better represent every practitioner, and to make that message to the public about who are we and what is our role, and not to pat ourselves on the back and be self-important, but really the function that we do serve in society.
Definitely. I've seen, again, this is going from watching you, Rick Howard, Mark Sargent, Greg Amy, operate at the Board of Governors level, seeing that transition quickly after I became the Nebraska governor and the MOU from our state being signed along with a lot of other states, and seeing that transition to now a board of directors. And again, not having the history before 2012, but knowing some of it, but seeing how the leadership, the people that have taken an active role, watching them at various executive office levels, how they've modernized, and again that's taken some time, but you currently, with the way you have all established platforms for people back in the state that's not a director, that they can participate, not only look on the website to find out, hey, where's this resource at, or ask those questions, but participate on a committee, whether it be an education, government affairs type, workforce development. So when I see that happening now, especially I think the turn coming out of COVID, which we all still bring it up, but it's now been 5 years since the outbreak, but we've adapted, and we've also back in the home office, you all have made it an effort, along with our leadership, Linda Foster, that committees can now meet. They don't have to be just a makeup of the directors of each state. They can be individuals back at the state societies, that maybe it's the individuals that are on that state education committee or workforce development committee and marketing that can participate, give their, not only take advantage of what information and knowledge is already there, but also share and help evolve the NSPS body of knowledge when it comes to each of those areas, so we can do better at recruiting youth as they are going through the public school, or I should say, through their undergrads studies, recruiting those that are even at the college level, that even though they're in a geodesy or GIS or geography, mathematics, that engineering, that there is this other option. And if they hear about it, know about it, and then even like we've seen a great deal of uptick with is our participation with the veterans groups. And here at LAMP, we have 5 individuals that have come through those various organizations that are
Oh,
working for
nice.
us now full time. And they may end up in engineering or construction administration, but we have some that are staying here in survey. So um, when I think of that is kind of a broad answer, but it's like there's so much NSPS is currently doing that each individual surveyor through the country can take advantage of these assets. They can also participate in how they function and how we develop them. So
Nope.
when did it expect?
No, that's
Response.
perfect. That's really good. No, that's very good. Well, and that's going to kind of lead into my next question for you on. Okay, you've thrown your hat in the ring to be candidate for secretary, and of course you're running unopposed. Which, okay, we appreciate. We like you said, we'd like to have more people with interest in being volunteering, whatever. That's fine. And I guess I'm asking this as someone that did 2 terms of secretary. I guess my question to you is, beyond just and because technology, let's face it, technology is making the secretary position so much easier with AI and transcriptions and video recordings and all this other stuff. But I guess from your perspective, how important is it going to be for you to be an officer, to be in that room with either the officers or the executive committee, and really helping steer the ship of NSPS and where we're going as far as trying to benefit the profession? How important is that role going to be to you in really being able to have a partial hand on the wheel of that?
It'll be a humbling opportunity. And again, as you mentioned, I'm running unopposed, and I wish that weren't the case. But to your point, watching you, Craig, Amy, Mark Sargent, I believe, as secretary, maybe somewhere in there with Rick Howard. I don't recall exactly how that all happened, but we've been very blessed to have people that take this secretary position seriously. And you did say something about technology, the evolution of technology. Thank goodness. And if elected, I'm not going to. Craig's going to hear from me. We're going to talk a lot. Going to get some advice, and have you as a resource as well. And again, the office, NSPS office, our team there, as you know, we're blessed. So the opportunity to serve in this position, I look forward to if that happens. I also see it as a way that I can further really know that I committed time at the national level, because it's not a position that you have to set aside the time to serve. We know that we're all busy in our professional lives at wherever we work. Family lives more important than that, but this is an opportunity to work with a great group of people, to learn from those that have already served in this position, and to use technology as best possible to help streamline that. But I've served on XCOM. I think I was appointed 2 times,
At least twice.
elected, currently just finishing out my last year of my term currently. But watching all the individuals involved, the new leadership that gets elected, the staff, our team at the office, makes it something I really want to do, because this is how it's been operating. It's not just one individual. It's not inactivity because of stuff not being done by the individuals that are serving. And I feel like that's a motivation and a desire of mine to help see that continue, and take advantage of seeing the other people that are becoming into leadership here soon too.
Well, I guess that's one thing I really I enjoy from my perspective. At this, especially at this point in time, you're right. We have a great group of leaders right now that are very forward thinking, very motivated to keep things going forward. And having you as an addition to that is going to definitely be an asset as well. So appreciate your time. But I want to do one final thought here. How does the future of surveying look to you?
I think the opportunities are there. I think that's the mindset that I always come away with when we do meet, whether it's an XCOM meeting or if it's, recently our fall business meetings in Minneapolis, that the goals that the education and workforce development committees and work groups have come up with, and again, our office, the marketing of our profession is not something that's not happening. You've really turned the corner, or the office, and you have turned the corner in developing new ways of outreach that get our names, out there to the youth and to the education, the universities, what have you, the veterans group that I mentioned previously. But also with the association and having your face as the NSPS face, meaning you've really reestablished those connections with the like professional groups. And I've heard this repeated, and this is nothing to take lightly, because I see our company doing it in the Omaha Metro, Eastern Nebraska, Western Iowa area, even Kansas City. And that is being a problem solver and having that reputation with those adjacent professionals in the mapping and geospatial world is key. There is a true opportunity there. Technology is evolving what we do. We've just met yesterday again in our office, looking at the various areas of where we perform our work in construction layout, construction stake, and construction surveying. Technology has taken that over. It's going to be removed, but there's undoubtedly an opportunity to be a problem solver, because all those construction firms that are going to self-perform, there's a commitment there that maybe they don't realize, and that is training of staff, updating equipment, and the evolution of technology that's happening rapidly. When it comes to just simple construction layout, we can be there to help them with that, even if they are doing some of it. How do we fit into that? And so I see it as a great opportunity, and I'm watching how the surveying profession is not just us licensed individuals. It's the technicians in the field. It's the geospatial individuals that we have within our firms, in our geomatics departments. And there is so much opportunity. It just doesn't have to be focused in on one thing. And we just need to keep reminding our like professionals who we are and do good work with them. And then the same at the national and state level within the legislature, to prove that our licensure is important and a betterment for our community, and not one of those things they should go for dealer regulation. So even though we see negatives, I think there's great opportunity.
Well, I would agree with you as well. And that's one reason I love the leadership that's involved, not even just the NSPS level, but at a lot of the state levels. And that's the reason we're making these connections again with our state affiliates, with the like-minded professionals as well. And like I said, it's going to be a joy to have you on board for 2 years to help, like I said, help guide that wheel going forward into the night of what the next, who knows what the next technology is, what is around the corner for us. But I agree. I think it's very, very promising. So, well, Dan, thank you again for taking some time. We look forward to installing you next spring, but in the meantime, we've got the business to run still. So, thank you again for the time today, and let us know if there's anything we can do to help you do your job even better.
Thank you for having me, Tim. It was a great opportunity. I look forward to it.
Very good. Well, that'll wrap it up for this episode of Surveyor Says. If you haven't already listened to the other couple of episodes with the other candidates, please check them out. If they're not out yet, they'll be forthcoming. And we've got a whole bunch of great stuff that we've just followed up on from literally all over the world. So wherever you listen to this podcast, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. You've been listening to Surveyor Says, the NSPS podcast, brought to you by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. If you have any questions about today's episode or any other topic, please email us at info@nsps.us.com, as we are here to help. Subscribe to the podcast on most of your favorite streaming platforms, as well as our podcast host,
Podbean. For more information about the podcast and NSPS, please visit our website, nsps.us.com. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.